Welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be part 2 of yesterday's video, so if you haven't watched yesterday's video, watch yesterday's video. This was all one video originally, but it was too long, so I split into 2, so I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, let's get started with today's video.
Homie took that roll and I was chasing him for like 5 minutes.
I'm fucking tired.
Alright, next step, I gotta start taking this shit off. The first step to remove this is I have to remove this big ass upper radiator hose. It's just a quick disconnect. So I'm gonna pop this clip up, pop this out. I don't have a catch can, so I just put a gang of towels right here. Hopefully it doesn't spill too much coolant. I hear the coolant, I know it has some inside, but hopefully it's a little bit and this will be able to absorb it. Move, get away from my shit. Damn. Let me take this out and just pray it doesn't spill too much. Move. Alright, cool. I took it off and no coolant fell out. I mean, this car's had a coolant leak for like a week, so I'm sure that shit barely has any coolant in the system. So this hose is out. You need to be very careful because this hose breaks a lot, especially this little nipple. On my old 335i that I used to have, this nipple broke off on me while the car was hot. I remember I like touched it, or I moved this to check like if it was leaking, and then this nipple broke off and coolant splashed all over my face and it was hot as fuck. It was like at 12 o'clock at night in front of a Food for Less. I'll never forget that day. Me and the homies were out and yeah, it just wasn't a good time. All right, now that this hose is out, I'm gonna remove these lines right here. So both of these lines that are for the oil cooler travel and they meet in this block that's under here. There's one bolt that's holding this block in right here in the middle. It's a 13 millimeter. So I'm gonna loosen this bolt and remove these two lines from underneath here. I'm gonna put a bunch of rags underneath because there's gonna be some oil that spills out of there. All right, I got the oil lines out. That fucking bolt, where is it? This 13 mil that was on the bottom that hold these lines in was such a bitch. This bracket slips into this, and then this bolt is what connects this to the oil filter housing gasket. So I have a rag underneath there, it's not leaking too much. But fuck, this bolt was such a bitch to take out. It took me like 20 minutes I think to take it out. But yeah, this is nice and clean. I'm gonna keep it up here so that no more oil comes up to it. I'm gonna just wrap it up and leave it here. Hopefully I don't drop it like a dumbass. I probably am. I'm gonna just leave that there. Next thing I gotta start working on is I gotta remove the intake manifold because there's 3 bolts that hold in this assembly. There's one right here, which is the E10, and then there's another one right here, which is another E10. So there's 1, 2, and I believe this one right here is 3, which is right behind the intake manifold. Like there's no way to fucking remove this without taking this off. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove the intake manifold. It should be really easy, especially right now because I just did the valve cover. It's just 6 bolts that hold it in. 1 bolt here and then the rest are nuts. So this, that, pretty self-explanatory. That, and then 1 line right here, and that's it. And then this should come right off. So let's get started on that, and then after taking that off I should be able to remove this. I disconnected this, but the charge pipe is solid, so it doesn't have much room, but it is disconnected. You're also gonna have to remove a sensor that's right here on the side. You have to get a pick in there and lift up the tab and then pull out the switch at the same time. Now I'm gonna remove the 11 millimeters that are holding the intake manifold in, and hopefully it should come off with that much room. It's 6 nuts, 1 bolt. Now it's kind of loose. Honestly, you only need to move it a little bit just so you can reach that bolt that's right here, but I'm gonna just remove it all and just try and clean up as much as I can underneath. I'm out of breath again. This fucking dog stole my shit again. Let me take out this intake manifold, see how hard it is. I was gonna remove this entirely, but if you look underneath, let me see if I can put you guys in there. I love GoPro so much. All right, this box right here, that shit looks like a mini ECU, is attached to the manifold. I have enough room to remove the bolt now. It's right here. So what I'm gonna do is, once I remove this, I should have a lot of room inside here to really clean everything up. So I'm not gonna remove it all the way. I gotta clean inside of it too though, because there's a bunch of oil. Like what the fuck? That's all the blow by. It's probably because my catch can was full, so I'm gonna clean all this shit up really good. I have new gaskets for the intake manifold as well, so I'm gonna replace all that. I already removed the radiator hose and the bottom 2 lines, so now all that's left is the 3 bolts. 1, 2, and then 3 right here. And this whole housing should just come off. Once the housing's out, that's when I'm gonna replace this gasket and the other one. Before I remove this, I have to crank this. I gotta break that so that all the oil falls down to the oil pan. So I'm gonna try and figure out a way to do this because I don't have any tools to take this off right now. This is the only tool I have to take off oil filters. It doesn't work with this Beamer filter, of course. All right, so the only thing I can think of is to try and use a strap. Edgar has one, but he's not here right now. So I'm gonna just try and use my fucking belt to see if that works. Oh, fuck. God damn. I'm gonna keep trying this, see if it works. I already fucked up my hand though. Yeah, it's not gonna work. I'm gonna need to wait till Edgar gets home to get the strap. Well, that didn't work. There goes my favorite belt. Edgar's like 10-15 minutes away. while he's coming over here, I'm gonna start replacing all these gaskets on here. So let me take one out to show you guys how it looks like. God damn, that shit's in there. Pick out the old gasket, take it out, and just put the new one. Simple as that. And make sure you just clean everything. So I'm gonna replace these gaskets, and I'm gonna clean inside these runners, and I'm gonna just try and clean the surface to that, just so that once this is ready to bolt back in, no problem. All right, little update. Andrew and Edgar came through. This one just got off work. This one just got off work too.
Bro, watch out.
Bro, I ripped my belt trying to make it into a strap wrench.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Yo, buff ass. Nah, Edgar brought a strap wrench. We broke it loose before. Take it off slowly. Hold up. Put this bitch under. Alright, put that somewhere, Andrew. Yeah. I almost said fuck taking off the oil filter, and I was just gonna start taking off the bowls. Imagine I took it out with that much oil inside. That's why you have to take off the filter so that the oil drops. So the oil's dropping now. I'm gonna just wait for it to drop a bit more. You want as little oil in this as possible. Once it drops down, that's when I'm gonna remove those 3 bolts, and then the oil filter housing should come off. I just got a bunch of rags and I cleaned up as much as I could inside here. There's still a bit right there and inside there, but that shit should be enough. I'm saying, like, I didn't expect it to be that fucking... God. You hear that shit? We're gonna read the torque spec for this. It's gonna be nowhere near what the fuck it was just at. Oh, that bitch. I'm gonna take out this coolant line right here. Most people don't take it off because it's a plastic fitting, but it looks like the past owner put a metal fitting in here, so this one shouldn't break. So I'm gonna take out those 2 10 mils, take out this hose, and then hopefully I have enough room to slip a E10 socket and wrench on there. Shout out Edgar, he got the last bolt out. Alright, I'm gonna take out the oil filter housing gasket, but I'm gonna mute it because I'm trying to get copyrighted. Little update. I got the oil filter housing out of the car already. That's gonna be it for today. I'm not gonna do shit else. I'm too lazy to go get my light. Tomorrow I'm gonna clean it up a bit more and then put the housing back on.
Oh, you can't even see me.
Woo!
Oh! Feature! Aye. I'm tired.
2 days later, I'm gonna go pick up Andrew right now. We're gonna go work on the car again. Let me go pick him up and I'll check back in after.
Slight repair, you know?
Yes, sir. Got the oil filter housing gasket, haven't cleaned it for shit. Here's how the gasket looks. It doesn't look that bad, but like on this area, you can see that shit's hella flat. And I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be that flat because at that point, it's basically like it has no gasket. So I don't even know if this was ever replaced or not. I'm gonna take it off and see how brittle it is. I'm gonna clean up the part right now. And then I'm gonna take off this half right here, which this half is held in by 1 E10 right there, 1 E10 right there, another one right here, and another one right there. And I also have another gasket for this little square compartment right here. Most people don't replace this, but you should. It's just a small little square gasket. Only 2 screws hold it in. What the fuck? I'm gonna clean this up and then I'll start working on separating this and replacing the gaskets and then putting everything back inside the car. Andrew's gonna start working on the rest of the car, huh, Andrew?
Yeah.
All right, while I'm working on the oil filter housing gasket and like doing all that shit I just said, Andrew's gonna help me out and he's gonna start cleaning the surface on this side and everything that he can inside there. And he's gonna start placing these rubber gaskets inside of the intake manifold, so it's really easy. And they sit right in between the screw right here. They just literally just place it in and they should just stay there. And that just seals everything up when you put everything back together. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Alright, I got all this separated. This is where it mounts to the block on the engine, and then this is the other half that I just took off right now. And then this is where the oil lines connect. I took out this cap right here, so it's literally just this cap. It was 2 T30 bolts that hold this in right here. This is a long like cylinder that presses into this, and this is spring loaded. So right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna replace this gasket first. I bought this kit off the ECS tuning. All I needed was the gasket, but they don't sell the gasket by itself. Maybe on eBay or something, but I couldn't find it. So I was forced to buy this whole fucking billet cover. I mean, it looks better, but I didn't need all that. So I'm gonna put that onto here, and then I'm gonna replace the gasket inside here. After this, I'm gonna put the gasket back on this side, and then Once everything is back together, I'm gonna put all this back inside the car.
What's good, guys? Quick update.
I got the whole filter housing put back together. I put a new switch in it. I torqued this one down to 10 foot-pounds because I was too scared to do 16. I replaced these bolts as well. They came with the kit. These are 16 foot-pounds torqued down. And then I put this one as well. This one didn't have a torque spec, so I just torqued these down pretty snug. Everything's all nice and prepped, and now it's ready to put back inside the car. Hand tighten everything, try and get all the bolts to sit evenly to try and get the housing attached as evenly as possible. Once the bolts are flush, you're gonna torque all three down to 16 foot-pounds. But that one's gonna be a bitch to torque, so I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna torque that one. I might just do that one by hand. Cue the time lapse. That should look good. I got the oil cooler lines attached from the bottom. They're not torqued or anything because I can't get a torque wrench in there. So I just got a 1/4 inch drive with the 13 mil, and I just tightened it as much as I could. So these are on there. This is nice and good. I just put the cap on. I'm kind of scared about this O-ring on this hose right here, and I know the O-ring on this should be replaced, but I don't have a fucking O-ring for it. So I'm gonna just inspect it, make sure it's good, and yeah, just pray to God it doesn't fucking leak. I got this coolant hose back on. Well, Edgar did. Shout out Edgar. The bottom oil cooler lines are done. Basically, this whole area is just completely finished. I'm kind of worried about the O-ring right here. Hopefully it doesn't leak anymore. All that's left is to put all this shit back together.
I'll come back tomorrow. I'm pretty much done for today. The bitch part is out of the way. It was just trying to stop that oil leak, and I think we did. Hopefully we did. I'll check back in next time that we're working on the car again. Alright, let's finish this fucking car today, bro. I'm over it. Alright, it's the next day, and like I said yesterday, I'm gonna try and get the car all back together today. Let me show you guys what's left. Yesterday, I got everything inside this area all nice and torqued up. So the valve cover is done, and all the gaskets on the oil filter housing area are done. So that's the hardest part. That's all completely finished. The gaskets on the intake manifold are all nice and replaced. Edgar and Andrew did a good job. I'm gonna just try and speed run this whole thing because that's basically all that's left. I'm gonna put everything back together. I'm gonna change the spark plugs with brand new ones. I'm also gonna be doing oil change on the cars. Once I have everything all back together and I have the new spark plugs in and I do the oil change, that's when we're gonna start priming the system and starting the car for the first time in a while. That's when I'm gonna do the pressure test on the overflow tank and try and pinpoint the leak because that you guys saw last time. But yeah, let me get started today and try and speed run all this. All right, first step is I'm gonna bolt this intake manifold back onto there. I don't think there's anything that needs to bolt on under here. I'm gonna bolt this on. That's gonna be the first step. I have all my bolts right here. That's why you put your bolts in bags, kids. All it is just guide these intake manifold studs that are on the side of the head. I torqued everything down. Everything is torqued down to 11 foot-pounds. Charge pipe is back onto the intake manifold. The next step is I'm gonna put the spark plugs in here. I'm gonna make sure the gap is right. I'm gonna put the gapping size for the spark plugs on the screen right now. After the spark plugs, I'm gonna put my cold air intake like housing box back in place, and then after that, I'll check back in. All right, so here's the spark plug. I'm gonna show you guys what the gap on it is out of the box. I already gapped all 6 of them, and they're all like pretty much similar. You wanna measure the gap between that electrode and this top piece. And you can see the gap is around, I'd say maybe like 28, 29-ish. I put this cloth on the ground, and I'm gonna just give this little taps on the ground to decrease the size. Give it a few taps, measure it. If it needs more, I'll tap it more, but I just want to get it down to 22 thousandths of an inch because right now they're like at 28, so they still need a long way to go. Oh shit, I gave it a very few taps and that's just already touching the electrode. So $23, almost 24, so I'm gonna give it one last little tap. I think that's about good. So there, now it's gapped at 22. The intake's back on and the fuel roll's back on. I also routed these vacuum lines and shit back on this side of the car instead of having them on this side. I plugged back in this vacuum line, don't forget that. I have to connect this other side of the vacuum line onto the intake manifold. Hopefully I can connect it with all this shit connected right now. And I need to connect this connection that's right here for the map, so I need to look for that as well. After I connect those two, I'm gonna start working on putting all this shit back together. The spark plugs are done. Now I gotta start putting back the fuel rails, and then I can start working on the wiring harness and getting everything back to how it was. I don't have a torque spec for these. If I find one, I'll put it on the screen. I'm assuming all that's left is to re-put this wiring harness block back onto here and attach it using the 2 E12 bolts, the one right there and the one back there. And then with that mounted, just follow all the wires back and make sure they go back to everything. Coil packs, the fuel injector plugs right here. Make sure that the wiring harness is grounded in the 3 locations on these studs. These are the plugs for the fuel injectors right here. I'm not gonna plug these in because, like I said, I'm gonna prime the engine because I don't want to risk getting rod knock from not priming the engine with oil, since it's not going to have any inside the oil filter housing gasket. I'm going to prime the car a little bit without the fuel injectors connected, but I'll explain that later. But that's the reason why I don't have these connected right now. That gray and black wire down there, I have it routed around the block. They're held in by the fuel rail. So the fuel rail has these black connectors right here, and the O2 sensors just sit in between these clips. I put the ground back, the one that goes over the top of the cowl. I also connected this ground right here. That was connected to the wiring harness on this one, I believe, for the DME. Is that one down there. One thing that I'm not sure about is I saw this connection just hanging out, and it's really short. It only goes from there to there, so I don't know what the fuck this is supposed to reach. The only thing I could think of is that this is something for stock application instead of the oil catch can. Other than that, the rest of the car is basically complete. I gotta wait for Edgar right now. I need him to open his garage so I could get the jack out. So I could jack the car up and drain the oil so I could start doing the oil change on it. I put these inside of their casing so they're nice and secure right now. So it looks a lot more organized, and I'm just waiting for Edgar to come to put that piece of plastic there and then be able to attach those, and then put this cowl and then those 2 small pieces, and then to get the jack to be able to jack the car up and do the oil change, and I'm gonna start priming the system once all that's done. Edgar said he's not gonna be back till it gets dark, and I am not trying to do this shit in the dark. But that's a problem for future Chris. I gotta clean up. I'm over this shit. It's fucking freezing. Let me clean up and I'll come back tomorrow. We're back again for like the fucking 6th time. This is the next day, and today I'm gonna try and finish the car. Let me get the catch can on there, and then let me start changing the oil after. The in outlet, which is the longer hose, and then there's a out outlet, which is the shorter curved hose. And basically this catch can is just gonna sit right here in the corner, like tucked away in the engine. The old owner put a shit ton of Teflon tape on it. I don't know why. I'm gonna remove it. It has an O-ring for a reason, so hopefully it seals good. And this curved out hose is going to connect to this opening right here, and then this little connector is going to connect right here, right next to that pipe. So that's that hose, and then this long hose is the one that we disconnected earlier. That one goes to the valve cover right here on this fitting. Catch can is nice and installed. I had to cut the longer hose a little bit more. It looks like the past owner didn't cut it good, and that's why I think this hose right here ended up coming off. And I'm gonna try and find the place where I can mount this, because I'm guessing this is what this is for. You put this on here, and then you can mount the catch can on somewhere so it's not just in the engine bay dangling. So I need to try and find a place to secure this. Next is putting that place. Alright, I said fuck it, and I just put all the cowl area back on the car because I can still see inside here, and I'm pretty sure I can still slip the engine cover inside here, especially because I have no bolts. So I'm gonna leave it like this. Hopefully there's no leaks, because then I'm gonna be fucked to try and fix them in the back. But I'm 90% sure there shouldn't be any fuel leaks. Everything went nice and smooth. So another thing I'm concerned of is the oil catch can is just literally hanging in there. It doesn't move much because it's being sandwiched by this top cowl area. I couldn't put this bracket on top of it because this bracket attaches it to the stock strut towers that go this way. But for now it should be good. I'm gonna just leave it there. That's basically it. Next step is changing the oil. I used to use liquid moly on my 0335i, and it's amazing, so make sure you get the good stuff. All right, let's jack the car up and change the oil. Alright, so what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna prime the system, because what I've heard of some people doing like an oil filter housing gasket service or something, and then they just go in and they just turn their car on. And I don't know, some people say you could do it like that, some people say you can't. I'm sure sometimes, most of the time it works, but there's that slight % chance that like the engine can seize or fuck up because it has no oil in it. I'm gonna prime the oil system. So the way you do that is you need to go to each of your fuel injectors and unplug the connection on each fuel injector. That way I'll be able to crank the car, but it will not turn on because the fuel injectors won't be spitting any fuel into the car. I'm gonna keep the car jacked up because I'm gonna do a pressure test on the car and try and find the coolant leak after. I'm gonna crank the car for 15 seconds,
and then I'm gonna let the car rest for a minute and then do it again, and I'm gonna repeat that 8 times. That's 2 minutes worth of cranking basically, and by then the whole system should be primed, and then I'll be able to start the car and I shouldn't have to worry about rod knock or anything. So I'm gonna do that right now. Damn, my car is dead. Oh, the battery's disconnected. I'm an idiot. I'm fucking stupid. I'm gonna go connect my battery and I'm gonna prime the system. I have the worst luck ever. I was trying to reconnect the battery so I could prime the system, and I broke the fucking bolt on the terminal battery. So now I gotta go buy a new one. So what I'm gonna do right now instead is I'm gonna hook up the pressure tester onto the car and try and find the coolant leak right now. With the pressure tester, I don't have to turn on the car. All right, here's the tester kit. As you can see, it just has a bunch of different caps for different cars. You just gotta find the one that fits your car. I think for this car, it's this yellow one. It's all hooked up. It's just the cap and then this fitting to that's part of the pressure tester. This button right here relieves the pressure at the end once you're done. And literally all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just keep pumping this like a bicycle pump and then watch the pressure go up. That's all I gotta do. Obviously you don't want to pump it up too much, so just pump it up to where your car runs at normally. Usually it stays on the cap or around here, but this car doesn't, but I think it's around like 15 psi. So I'm gonna just pump it to like 12 or 13 psi, and you guys will see the car's gonna start leaking a bit of water. If it doesn't leak anything, that means that all of it ran out, and I'm gonna fill it up with some distilled water just so I can find the leak. But let me pump it and see if anything comes out. There's no pressure building, so I think it's because there's no coolant in here. So I'm gonna fill it up with a little bit of water. I only have a little bit, I only have this. So hopefully this is enough to find the leak. They're building pressure and it just fucking pissed coolant out. I gotta take this hose out and replace the O-ring on it. I know I should have done it from the beginning. And the O-ring looks good. I don't know why the fuck is leaking. All right, change the plans. The hose that Edgar connected isn't even bad. It's not leaking. Edgar just didn't tighten it all the way, so come on, Edgar. All right, but I tightened it because I noticed that the bolts on it weren't even that tight. So I hooked up the pressure tester and I pumped it up, and it's like at 12 psi right now. It's gonna keep dropping because there's a leak. And if you look under the car, it's leaking now. I'm praying to God that I don't have to buy an O-ring for that one. It's leaking from that one hose that we disconnected. So I think all I gotta do is just remove that hose clamp and just push it up a bit. So I'm gonna just take off the clamp, push it up a bit more and tighten it. All right, all the pressure is relieved, and watch, the leak's gonna be stopped. I'm gonna remove the clamp up, tighten it again, and then do another pressure test, see if it still leaks. I'm all full of coolant. I have coolant in my armpit right now. That shit went all down my arm. But I put the hose back and it stopped the leak right now with no pressure. So hopefully I could pressure test it right now and there's no fucking leaks. I hope so. I really hope so. Pushed it up a bit and it stopped the leak right now with no pressure. I'm gonna just dry this up a bit with this rag, and then once it's dried up, I'm gonna do another pressure test and see if it keeps leaking from that area. Check it out. I hooked up the pressure tester again. I have it at 14 psi right now, and there's no coolant leaks. There's not one drip under the car, besides everything that's spilled before, of course. But let me check the front hose. This front hose isn't leaking at all. I can hear the coolant being pushed through the system. It's being pushed through the oil filter housing gasket. So I don't want to keep running the pressure through the system for too long. That's what the car runs at when it's running. So that means, hopefully, technically, that means there should not be any leaks when we turn the car. Alright, we back. Last day. I'm fixing the fucking Beamer today if it's the last thing. I don't give a fuck. I picked this up last night. This is the battery terminal that I fucking broke on the car, so I could actually connect the car and prime the engine, and that's basically it. The oil gaskets are in. I just gotta basically prime the system and turn it on and make sure that the car isn't leaking oil. I know where it was leaking oil from last time, so as long as it's not leaking oil from there, we should be good. I'm gonna put that new battery terminal that I broke on yesterday so I could ground the battery, and then I'm gonna start trying to prime the car. What the? Damn! Static cars be like. All right, I'm gonna give Edgar the camera, and Edgar, your job is to literally just keep an eye on the injectors and the oil filter, all this shit. Just make sure nothing blows up over you. So everything's good up here?
Yes.
Alright, so I went in, I pushed the clutch pedal in. I just pressed the button once and the car was just trying to continuously crank, so I didn't have to hold it for 15 seconds.
Oh, you were holding it?
Nah.
I thought you were holding it.
Nah, the car just does it until it's like turns on. Now we have to let the car sit for a minute and then just repeat it over again 8 times. Car should be fully cranked at that point because it's 2 minutes of crank time. That means that the oil filter housing gasket and like everything should be full of oil, especially because we took everything off, and it should be good at that point. Hopefully. None of the injectors are leaking. Fuel rail.
Crank numero dos.
You idiot.
What?
Where are you banging though? I ain't gonna lie, when you first did it, I was like... That's like the worst prank to play on someone, bro, after all this work on their car. That should make a grown man cry.
No leaks.
Alright, so far so good. I don't see any oil leaks, we don't see any coolant leaks. I mean, it's not gonna leak coolant because it's not building pressure in the cooling system, but we don't see oil leaks, so that's good. Alright, we got 4 more times to go. I'll just come back once we're ready, about to start turning on the car, like officially, once I plug back the fuel injector. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a bit. Come here, come here, come here, come here. Alright, 8 times is done, like it's fully cranked. It's ready to fucking start. I'm gonna go get some distilled water, I'm gonna make some coolant, and then I'm gonna fill the system up. I'm gonna bleed the car, then after I bleed the car, it's gonna be ready to turn on. Fingers crossed. I gotta connect the fuel injectors right now. Chill, 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 chill. Good job, Andrew. God damn it. Alright, moment of truth. What do you think will happen?
You gonna turn the car on and it's gonna run?
Alright, the system is completely bled. Coolant is bled. Literally just finished 5 seconds ago. This is a weak cold start. I'm just waiting to see if the fucking check engine light pops up. What the hell? You hear that? That shit don't sound good, deadass. Car is fully put together. We cleaned up everything. I ain't gonna lie, I'm kind of nervous because I haven't heard this car in forever. These fools are telling me that it's fine, but in the back of my head, I don't know. The sound of the car just sounds weird. All right, so I'm literally just gonna turn on the car, let it chill for like a minute, and I'm gonna drive it out of here and just start taking it on the street, like just baby it, and I'll show you guys the noise that I'm talking about right now, but that just doesn't sound good to me. It didn't have the engine cover on it, so maybe it'll be even less loud right now, but Edgar, turn on. Here, I have the key. Bro, I was about to punch something, bro. I was so pissed.
He was looking at his car like that, just with a frowny face on.
Yeah, alright, right now I'm gonna just let it chill for like 30 seconds. It's not raw now, it's chilling. Deadass. Bro, these cars tick like a bitch. Like, it sounds like a fucking diesel, deadass. Let's take it for a fucking drive, my boy. Alright, let's see how good Edgar can handle that stage 3 clutch.
Bro, go that way. Why is he going this way? He don't know how to drive. He don't know how to drive. Wait, so what way do I...
Yes, sir. Yeah, that shit sounds so good. Shut the fuck up. Just pull up right here. Oh, shit. Yeah, my boy. Alright, let me look under. No leaks so far. No leaks right here either. Alright, I'm gonna drive it around for a bit and then I'll check back in later. Andrew's gonna coordinate y'all from the back seat.
Front seat, what is he talking about? Give myself.
I don't want to push on it too hard, but it just feels good to drive this car again, bro. That's gonna be it for today's video. We did the valve cover gasket, the oil filter housing gasket, and just a bunch of shit. So hope you guys liked it. I know it's gonna be a long ass video because it was like fucking 7 days of fucking footage, so it's gonna be a bitch to edit this. But the car seems fine. Next video, we'll find out if the car's like really good. But as of now, it's driving fine. It's keeping temp. Like, it's perfect. No coals, no nothing. If you made it this far in the video, comment.
Stay dangerous.
You heard the kid. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys for watching.
Alright. So the right one is the clutch, right?
Yeah, right one clutch, left one gas.
And the car's gonna roll like an automatic car. See? Now take your foot off the clutch completely. You're already engaged.
I can give a gas.
Now you can drive it like a regular car?
What the fuck? Yeah, that shit. Woo!
Alright, I'm gonna let Edgar drive the car now. He hasn't driven it in a while. My first fitted. Shout out to Andrew. I don't even gotta tell Edgar nothing. I just want her to enjoy it. Don't push the car too much. I guess I'm gonna end the video here now officially, but
I popped my hood and the whole fucking car, like the whole front.
Look at the floor.
Hey, I called Edgar over and he's noticed this. That O-ring on the fucking oil filter fucked up. It literally shot oil out onto the whole thing. So bro, we were literally driving, it's probably just shooting oil out, all the oil pressure. Bro, I swear, I thought that, I'm pretty sure the oil filter goes like that. I don't know why the fuck it fucked up. Edgar says it might be in the wrong groove, and it might be, but I'm gonna detail the engine bay, so I'm not worried about the oil. I'm just worried about the belt, so I might change the belt next time. But other than that, the car's fine. All right, I'm gonna just end on that note. I think the car's good, but I fucked up with the oil filter on some fucking Calvin's brother shit. Bro, how long do you think it was leaking for? I really hope like it just burst right now.
I think it did.
Because if we were driving and it burst, it would have like lost oil. Like imagine if it was leaking all the way since we were driving here.
Nah, because remember we stopped over there
and there was nothing.
Yeah, and there was nothing. I think it's when you swung it, to be honest.
All the pressure, huh, from the revs?
I fucking swung the car right here, like a little U-turn, and that might have been enough oil pressure to blow the O-ring on it. Stay tuned for next video and see what the fuck I do, but I'm probably gonna change the belt and shit, but it looks like the rest of the car is good. It's just my fucking look at this shit. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.